And as we're looking at this incredibly windy scenario here, this is going to be fascinating because our next group coming out is the Rush SR Series. And one of the things that's really cool about this, they made their debut with us at the end of the year last year. And they are really cool little prototypes. And it went so well that they have signed on now, and Gridlife is the official sanctioning body of their prime racing series, the Gridlife Rush SR Championship. And they are getting ready to come out and put on a show. Now, they are little pocket rocket prototypes. They're so fun. This wind could be really interesting how it affects them. But, since we've got somebody with so much experience here at this track, Chris, let's take a look at the track map, and we can talk a little bit more about the critical areas here as you take a look at the layout here of Carolina Motorsports Park. And the start-finish line, there's that turn 1, 2, 3 complex we're talking about. But how tricky is that 4 through 7 section?
Yeah, that 4 through 7 section is absolutely critical. You can roll a ton of speed on entry into 4, but then track out through the 6 and 7 portion. I mean, that makes or breaks your turn 8, because that is the longest straight at Carolina Motorsports Park.
Then through 8, that quick flick at 9, then a very fast turn 10. One of the hardest braking turn is 11, and then through that sort of second carousel almost, if you will, right back up and then into an incredibly important turn 14. One, a great overtaking area, but also the last corner before you get onto the front straight. And if you overshoot 14, you're crawling all the way down that front straight. So you might want to try that last lap pass, but you might be really slow coming out and lose 2 spots.
Yeah, and as we saw in the GLTC race in the very last corner, Houghton and McGrew got the better drive out of the corner and was able to secure that final podium spot.
And that's the key right there, and that's why that is such an important turn here. Let's now take a look at our starting lineup for what's about to unfold here, and this should be absolutely spectacular. These guys put on such a fun show, and can't wait to see what they're going to uncork for us. Now, there's in the number 8 car is a guy, they're calling him the Rush Stig. We don't know who it is, taking a page from Top Gear, but he put it on pole in their qualifying session, won the first race with Ryan Leach. That's the number 8 for the Stig. The number 56 of Ryan Leach was second. That's where he finished. Third was the 28 of John Romali. Fourth, the 74 of Jason Oler. And that top group of 4, that's how they qualified. That's how they finished. Look at the wind out there, and look at those little cars. I mean, they got 1 liter inline 4 engines, high revving, aero, pretty effective aero on the cars, but they're so lightweight. This wind, I would think they would be moving around like crazy out there.
Yeah, absolutely, and it looks like it's starting to rain a little bit,
that too,
which is very interesting with the spec semi-slick tire that these Rushes run. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops throughout the race.
And the whole concept of the Rush SR is a car that you can purchase and go racing with and racing's expensive, but relatively very little money. I mean, turnkey, you can go racing for under 40 grand and have performance on the level of a GT3 Cup car when you take the horsepower versus the weight. Plus, you've got full sequential shift. Plus, you've got these massive brakes on the car. I mean, the performance of these things, the bang for the buck is ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think one of the big selling points of the car is actually the cost to operate. I mean, they're marketed at $100 per hour. So with the low cost of tires, how long brake pads last, and other items, I mean, it's an awesome track day toy.
And the cool thing is look how small they are. If you've got an area that's got a big go-kart track, they'll work and race there. So if you're in a local community, you don't have to buy a racing license for a full-on racing sanctioning body. You can go to one of those tracks, and they'll have track championships too. So it's all pretty cool and just great fun. There's no question about that. Guy that I want to call some attention to, he qualified in the 7th spot, ended up working his way up into the top 5. Guy named Suelio Almeida in the number 10. I got the chance to announce him last year. I do some announcing for a series in Florida called FARA, and they had a series called Formula Inter, which is slightly older F4 Ligier chassis cars, and he made his name as a sim racer and a coach, but he's become a very heavy influencer in the social media world. And so he, came in and was doing this Formula Inter and documented everything. Turns out he's a pretty decent actual road racer as well. Has had some success internationally, and but one of the things he's doing is he's now trying all these different forms of racing and kind of documenting it. Like I said, this is, we got a field of 19 cars here, 20, I think, actually. One didn't get to qualify, which is Logan Hadel, but he did go out and race. And, he qualified 7th, went to 5th, and it's just great to have him in this championship. That number 11 right there, Sam Reed, in the first race had an early spin, but was able to fight his way back up and into the top 10. So there's some guys out there that can certainly wheel.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing more and more nowadays of the sim to actual track experience. You see Formula One world champions like Max Verstappen. I mean, Formula One's really just a hobby for him. He sim races all the time, and he Formula One races for fun, and he's very excellent. But we see more and more. Yeah, exactly. When we're seeing more and more of this, I'm seeing competitors in other series. They'll start on sim, and then they'll develop into fantastic road racers.
Absolutely. It's, that movie Gran Turismo that's out, Jan Mardenborough had the opportunity. His first Le Mans was one I was announcing, and had a chance to do an interview with him in the paddock and talk to him a bit. And, they can do it, and it's amazing to see. But this is going to be interesting here. We've still got look at the... I'll tell you, that flagman is getting a workout right now, just holding those up there. And I don't know. I think the pace car is staying out, and I think that's a smart idea. I see a wrecker that's out, or a flatbed that's out on track, so maybe somebody had a little bit of an issue here.
See a cone knocked over for the
cones falling over. Yeah.
Well, I think it's part of the motorcycle course they have blocked off here. So I believe they're just putting that right back up so no one makes a mistake there.
That's a good idea. I'm not sure it's such a bad idea either for everybody here in these cars to get another look at this track. They had a race not that long ago that we saw that great battle. But I'll tell you what, the Stig, somebody called the Stig, you would think, okay, he's just going to blow the field apart, right? No, the 56 of Ryan Leach at the line, 14 one-thousandths of a second, and actually had a quicker lap than the Stig did. And so there's some serious racing going on at the front end of these.
Yeah, seeing their splits, 700ths between their fastest laps, the two of them. I'm definitely looking forward to watching that race.
Yeah, it should be spectacular here. And like I said, these little cars, they get after it. And when you got a lightweight car like this that has some pretty decent aero, if you're in a headwind, you're going to get a lot more stick. It's going to slow you down, obviously, but you're going to get a lot of stick. But if you're in a tailwind, really easy to overshoot a corner.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing a lot of wind down the turn 7 and 8 straight.
Yep.
So that braking zone for turn 8, it could be hairy, could be easy.
And you can see all the sand in the background there, and that's what's blowing around. So from lap to lap, kind of like we talked about, Laguna or Zandvoort, you can come into a corner that the lap before had great grip on line, and now somebody's pulled a bunch of dust or that's just blown there. So you've got to really be up on the wheel every lap of these races.
Yeah, it's almost like driving through some oil dry someone laid down, but there's no
point.
Debris flag or anything to know about it. So it's real be interesting to watch these mixed conditions, especially as rain continues to fall.
That's always the great test, isn't it? They call it the equalizer as well, and we'll see just how that plays out. Now, you would think somebody who's got the Stig logo there would be, if it's raining or really low grip, you'd think, all right, they must be pretty experienced, but we don't know who it is, so we're just going to ride along and have some fun with it here. And that's one of the things that these cars deliver is huge fun. And what's really cool about it, too, the Rush group that builds these cars thought this through, because they designed these cars to be small enough. We talk about being able to race on a go-kart track. In a standard garage, 2 of them will fit side by side, so you can half garage cost. And if you're really tight budget, you can turn them sideways, and 3 will fit. So, you can really get out there and race and keep the cost really extraordinarily low. All right, looks like we're going to be going green this time. Field over in the last corner. It's going to be the Stig and Ryan Leach up front, bringing this field to the green. Then John Romanil, and Jason Oler. That is your second row. Then Suelio Almeida and Bill Wright. That's the 10 and the 58. Respectively. Then the 9 of Nick Billingsley and the 5 of Rod Radman. Then in the 11th spot, the 9th spot, the number 11 of Sam Reed, who I talked about in 10th. The 19 of Kelsey Billingsley. And here we go, green flag. It looked like the Stig got that little bit of a jump. and does indeed lead down into turn number 1, now 2. Boy, did he get out of there well.
Yeah, it definitely looked like he had a little wiggle in too, so I'm wondering how these track conditions are playing into this.
And even with that wiggle, he was able to open up a nice little margin. So obviously the confidence for the Stig paying off here just a little bit. And Ryan Monley and Oler staying pretty close here as well to Ryan Leach at this point.
Yeah, they have a real close lead up front. P2 and P3 are battling real close. It'll be interesting to see how this evolves through this lap.
I love this shot popping out here into this section of racetrack here, and it really gives you a feel. And you can see, like you talked about, this track does not have big elevation change, but as Tom O'Gorman often talks about it, this track has texture, doesn't it? It's just those little rises and falls, but they're often placed at spots on the track where they can catch you out if you're not on top of it.
Yeah, absolutely, and they're also placed at places where you can get a big advantage if you know how to use them. So there's definitely a certain home track advantage here for some of the competitors.
I'm guessing these cars probably a little bit different to drive than your Caddy.
Just slightly.
Whoa, another cone is blown onto the track, and some evasive right there by the number 28 of Rimonelli, and was able to avoid it here, but that's going to cost you a little bit of time, wanting to turn in, seeing that cone and having to go around it. And we'll have to see how they adjust at this point. But at this stage, that margin is only about, 6-7 car lengths, and we got a caution. Full course yellow has come out once again.
Yeah, I wonder if it's for the wind and the cone's blowing over.
Yeah,
that was a nice heads-up move to dodge that cone and not punt it. Because
yes, it sure was.
With the nose on these prototype-style cars, you don't want to damage them.
And right in a potential line, as we saw here. So this, you kind of have to do this here because you don't want to destroy somebody's race in a great battle just because of an errant cone out on the track. So everybody gets to sort of settle a little bit here. And then you can see there our top 5, and Almeida Suelio Almeida is now, he's in the 6th spot with Wright in 7th, Billingsley. Nice job by the number 9 up into right in that top 10 battle right there, and Reed doing a nice job as well. How does this kind of, disrupt your rhythm? Now, like I said, these guys actually have had a fair amount of track time today. They had a practice earlier, they had a qualifying, also had a race, and but now that everything's so different with this huge wind out there, what are they going to be thinking about here going back to the restart?
Yeah, I honestly think it gives them just a second to chill out, regather themselves. If you made a mistake on the race start, just get over that, stop reflecting, and just focus on the race. So the double yellow is a nice time to, just reflect. We saw a big gap there after the end of the first lap between Romani and Oler, so I think that'll be nice to close that up and just, refocus on getting back into the race.
I think so too, and I love the fact that look at that, they've got a debris flag out there, and I think partly because of that cone, but also I think just the sand that's out there right now being blown around. Look at that background there. So we'll see what's going to happen here, but I love the fact that the ability here to to kind of reset. And, the guys that can keep their head in it a little bit better are often the ones that it'll pay dividends for. But, if you did, like you said, make that mistake, I love, your comment there, because I've often said one of the best friends a racer can have on occasion is a very short memory.
Yep, exactly.
And just put it behind you. It didn't happen. Just go drive.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see when we go back green this battle between Romani and Leach, because Romani was closing in on him there and Leach was falling back a bit. So I'll be interested to see that when we go back green.
And you're going to wonder too, Leach too, if seeing what the Stig did in 1, 2, 3, if he now goes, that's what I got to do to get through there a little bit quicker. But part of it is obviously side-by-side start. You may not be in a position to drive the optimal line through that first turn.
Yep, and the other thing is if he tries to replicate what Stig has done, but the track conditions have changed, he might be in a bad way. So
that's very true. You suddenly have those big snap moments, and every corner on this track with this wind has to be changed. Now, the one silver lining here is whatever little bit of drizzle it looked like we had seems to have stopped, and it is blowing so hard out there that these clouds, it might just blow this right past us. So let's keep our fingers crossed, obviously, and see how this plays out here. And do remember, folks, this is the first of 3 days, but tomorrow is the big day of competition here for Gridlife in this festival tour sponsored by Toyo. And the simple fact is, tomorrow we've got 3 Gridlife Touring Cup races, right? We've got NOS Energy Drink Track Battle Time Attack Championship, 3 qualifying sessions, and the new Podium Sprint that debuted last year, which has proven hugely popular. We've got 2 more rush races and a qualifying session. And we're not even talking about the HPDE sessions, which will be primarily on Sunday, but also drifting here. There's so much going on at any of these Gridlife events, and particularly the festival tour.
Yeah, these festival tours are fantastic. Just the amount of different motorsport disciplines out there. You have wheel-to-wheel racing, time attack, drifting, just people coming out and HPDing their street cars. It's absolutely awesome. And not to mention, we have the music and concerts on Saturday night as well.
I was just going to say, you wouldn't believe the size of the stage that they have set up here, and it is going to be rocking as soon as we're done racing here. So that's a big draw too, these festivals. And we love, because people that come for these name acts, we hope that they'll then fall into watching this racing and then going, God, this is cool, and get involved, because that's new fans.
Absolutely.
And that's something that Gridlife is truly, truly invested in, and it makes it really special as well. And it's going to be a lot of fun here. And the drifting here, it's full course. It isn't like only in certain spots. Here, whole track. So there's a lot to be enjoying here. Just want to remind everybody on our stream, I think it is 10:30 tomorrow. We'll be on from 10:30 to 11 with Gridlife Touring Cup Race 3. And then about 2 o'clock, a 4-hour live stream where we're going to cover everything else that's left. And we're going to have some special features. We're so happy to have Cerise Taylor here working with us, and it's just going to be a lot of fun to be able to enjoy that new sort of format here. And that 4-hour show tomorrow is, boy, talk about nonstop excitement.
Absolutely. Long day ahead tomorrow, and it'll be interesting to see how things evolve, as well as car racers, because for the GLTC guys, they have 3 races tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you have to also focus not on doing well in your race, but also keeping the car together to race 2 more times.
Well, and the other aspect of it, every race is so connected, because the race that we just saw, fast lap in that race determines your grid position for tomorrow's race 2. Race 3's starting position is based on finishing order from race 2. So they're all interconnected. And then the final race is when it gets really interesting, when the finishing order determines the start, but with a random inversion up to 1/3 of the field. So there's a lot to watch here. And that podium sprint, man, it's so cool. Top 5 in each of the NOS Energy Drink track battle classes basically go out for 2 laps by themselves to try and put it together.
Yeah, and it's absolutely awesome to be on a track by yourself.
And we are coming to the green here. And yes, we're green, racing once again for the Rush SR Series, sanctioned now by Gridlife. 5 events on the season, this the first. And again, great start by the Stig, but this time Leach staying a lot closer to him.
Yeah, absolutely. He got a much better run through the 1, 2, 3 complex there, and he is right on him.
Now let's see if he can stay glued to him, and whether Raimanelli and Oler are able to stay there as well. Looks like they are. In fact, obviously it's early going here, but that whole group up at the sharp end staying pretty tight here at this stage. And let's see what's going to happen.
Yeah, Radman, I saw him poke his nose out at the start, and he looks like he made up some ground.
Well, that's one of the things here, obviously, on a start, especially at 2x2 start, on a track that's tough to pass. If you can get it done at the start, it just makes life so much easier. But, a big look here, heading down into turn, that's 9, I think, right?
That is 10, yes.
That's 10, and he's
Radman
through.
got it done, yes.
Wow, what a run. That's Radman. He's up from 8th. Up into 5th right now. What an opening lap.
He's having a fantastic drive so far. We'll be interested to see how far he gets up to the field.
It's a good looking car too. I love that chrome blue.
Yep, and he's closing in on Romani now as well.
Wow, these guys are putting in. I mean, now with that long caution, you've got a lot less time to get down to business here and see what's going to happen. The Stig still has a quick lap, but you know that Leach, he's not far off right now. Look at that. He is sticking right with him. They've now opened up a little gap. Back to Ramanelli, Oler, and now Radman up into fourth. He got Oler on that lap, too.
Well, Oler just passed Radman in
he
turn
got him
one there.
back.
He got him under the brakes, so Radman braked early, and Oler took full advantage of that.
So, all right, and well done to Mr. Oler here. That's an absolutely great drive, Jason Oler here. And Suello, he didn't get the greatest start in his number 10. He's back behind this duo right now by a little bit. But, boy, it doesn't take long here for Radman. Oler got through, and Radman is just glued to him again.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if he can make the same move to the kink, but that was bold. I think Oler's going to be smart in defending against that this next time.
And you wonder, too, there's not a ton of aero adjustment on these cars, but you can change that wing angle, I think. And obviously more wing will give you better grip into and through a corner, but it slows you down on the straights. And looking to see just how that's going to play out here as there is Suelio coming through.
Yeah, and especially being a mid-rear engine style car, your rear downforce is significantly more important than the front because you want your downforce to be proportional to the weight distribution of the car. So the more you clock that rear wing, depending on how your car's set up, it could make or break it.
And of course, there's so many elements to getting a car dialed up and correct for a racetrack, from suspension setup, tire pressures. There's so much that goes on, and then you throw in little bits of aero like that, and it just takes that to a whole different level there. Good look at the 19 of Kelsey Billingsley, and Billingsley currently running in the 7th spot and doing a really stout job here. And look at this, Ramanelli, Oler, Radman all setting personal bests on that last lap. So everybody's starting to find some pace. Most everybody is setting personal bests now, so they're starting to find it at this point. But there's not a lot of time left in this race. I didn't see a white flag.
Neither did I.
So hopefully, because of that long caution, maybe they're going to give him an extra lap. Normally, they're lapping around here. If there's the time on the clock when the leader gets to start finish is less than a lap, you get the white. But it was a lot less this time, but no white. And I think that's one of the great things about Gridlife is if you end up with a long caution, they'll say, you got gas in the car, we'll give you another lap.
Yep.
We can do that for you.
And we're starting to see the pack separate more and more here as well.
I'll tell you, Leach is not giving up here. He's still fairly close. Then that little bit of a gap, as you talked about, back to Ramanelli, then another couple of seconds to Oler. And Radman has fallen back a little bit, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure what's up, or, if he said his tire pressure's wrong or something, but he is definitely falling back. So if you start your tire pressures a little on the high side, you'll be great on the race start, and they'll come up to 10th faster, but you will suffer later in the race.
And, it's really tough to impart to people who aren't technically knowledgeable about how tire pressures can affect a car's performance. And we're talking not huge, 2-3 pounds. We're talking quarter pound, half pound. Yeah. It makes a huge difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it also affects the balance, especially if you do a front rear pressure stacker, which I would assume the rushes are as well, being so rear heavy. And we're not seeing a white flag this time by either.
They're letting them go. And Ryan Leach is loving it because he just set fast lap of the race, and he's trimmed that lead down to just a tick over a second here to the Stig. He made up about 3/10 on that lap.
Yeah, that was a great lap. Meanwhile, they're both pulling gaps on the rest of the field.
And sometimes, the old saying, it's easier to lead than follow because you can reference the guy in front of you a little bit. And as the leader, sometimes it's like you're just ruining that because, all right, if I'm going to win this, I got to show them all my tricks.
Yeah, and
I don't want to do that. But
also, you don't want to burn up all your stuff just in case. You never know.
Now let's see if the Stig responds here. It looks like that margin has stabilized here. Then there's Ramanelli, and then Oler. Yeah, everything's kind of gapped here just a little bit behind these two.
Yeah, Oler's pulled out a massive gap on Radman there. I'm not sure what's going on with him.
Stig, he was way wide of the apex there. Now, was that just an error? Yeah, he lost a lot of time there. I thought maybe he may have was avoiding sand or something, but that was just an error. He lost a ton of time.
Yeah, Leach is right back on him. I wonder if the Stig just got a little deep in his braking there, because if you miss your braking zone by just a slight bit into 11, it can push you real deep and throw you way offline.
All right, there we go. Let's see what the margin is as they come to the line, and still no white. They're saying go after it, guys. And the margin down to 0.7. Leach is climbing after him here, and Leach is throwing that little SR around. Just fun to watch him get after it.
Yeah, he is absolutely on the limits of adhesion right there through turn 1. There is nothing left there, so he is gaining 0.4 that lap.
And doing it fearlessly, just getting into it. I'm loving watching him driving this right now.
Yeah, as we see him exiting the carousel, looks like he's fallen a little bit back to the stick, but he's definitely holding steady. So we'll see if the stick can make another mistake and Leach can get right back up on him.
Let's see what happens here, and I'm just loving the fact that they're just letting us race here for a little while. Here's a good little scrap.
Oh, that is the battle for the lead there.
Oh, he closed it up again. Yep. Huge, didn't he? Yeah, and this is not... Oh, no,
those are lap cars.
Those
okay.
were a couple... Well, that could affect things here. Boy, he caught him at the worst time into turn 11.
Oh, we got a waving yellow into 11.
Oh.
Oh, we got a car spot on the right side.
Yep, that is the number 3. He's gone around Timothy Fokine, and he's looking up track, so hopefully he's got it running, but he just doesn't want to pull out in front of anybody. Yeah, but boy, I'll tell you, that really hurt the Stig.
Absolutely, yeah. It allowed him to close up. You can't pass under yellow, but you can certainly close right up to their bumper.
He's being very cautious out there, with good reason, not understandably. But and the interesting thing is, how much longer are we going to run? If he can't get going, I think we'll probably see the checker come out relatively quickly here.
Yeah, no more white flag that time by either, so they are letting them race. Leach was only 0.5 back that lap, so he definitely closed up a little bit under that yellow period.
Oh, I think he might get hung up a little bit here. And that brings Rymanelli and Oler, and didn't look like Radman wasn't close enough to be. I've got to think Radman just had a mistake somewhere that we didn't see. Big slide or ran wide or something like that.
I'm not sure. He's been consistently falling back the last 3-4 laps. So I'm not sure if his setup's messed up or if he
like you said, tire pressures.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or maybe he's got a puncture.
Yeah, I would have thought if it was a slow puncture, he would have came in by now. But
right.
He has, definitely not been doing great comparatively.
I'll tell you what, Rymanelli is sticking right with these guys, isn't he?
Yeah, he is right on the Group 3 lead. And then Oler's not too far back in the background, so if there's a mistake, Oler could grab a podium position.
Yeah, I'm impressed with Rymanelli's response here when he got close.
Yeah, I wonder if that car stalled or something because, they had a full lap and they have not moved. So if that car is disabled, I wouldn't be surprised to see a white flag this time by. Leach is right on him through the turn 13.
And I love this 12-13 complex. Turn in super late to 12, and then it is the definitive expanding radius corner after that, isn't it?
Yeah, you really have to work on feeding throttle as you're opening up the wheel. And so,
look at this. He got a run, too.
Oh, he is gaining ground on that front stretch. He's got a nice draft, and the white
There's
flag
the white.
this time
Here
by.
it is. He's looking to the inside, down into turn 1. I don't think he was quite close enough. However, the Stig ran wide. Again, Leach in the attack mode right now. Rymanelli staying close enough, thinking, I've got an opportunity here. And then, as you mentioned, a little bit of a gap back to Oler right now. But we're going to see how this plays out. But, boy, Ryan Leach is in full attack mode here.
Yeah, there was a little bobble by him in 2 trying to stick it more to the inside of the Stig, but he is right on him. A tenth of a second that time by.
Oh, it's so close. And just don't make a mistake coming through 6 and 7. Looks like he is staying relatively close. And it's all going to be about, right now, 8. And, best opportunity here. Clearly into 11 if he can do something, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But is that car still there? That could be negated if that yellow's still out.
Absolutely, and we've seen the Stig make a mistake into there as well before.
Yeah.
So,
all right. That top three, boy, covered by the proverbial blanket pretty much here. Here we go.
Yeah, and we still have a car in 11, unfortunately. I saw the standing and waving yellow, so.
But again.
He'll have to get it done into 14 here if he wants to make this pass stick. So he'll have to be late on the brakes. If you're Stig, you just got to defend the inside.
All right, let's see what happens here. Boy, I'll tell you, Leach really is good through 13. Does he have enough roll speed, though, to attack down into 14? Boy, this is just going to be fascinating here. Race 2, we get 2 more of these after a qualifying. Here we go. He's got
Stig pits in.
Something happened there, and Leach gets the win.
Wow.
So clearly, maybe then the Stig had something going off on the car.
Maybe he ran out of fuel, given they might have underfueled the race with how long it was, but because those 2 laps under yellow, you'll typically burn 60%, 50% of the fuel you'll burn in a green flag running, but that's 2 laps they didn't account for. So.
Well, and it was more than 2 laps past the clock.
Yep.
So that may well have been it. And you were spot on, Oler. Close enough. Anything happened, he gets the podium. You called that, Chris. Nicely done. Radman. Look how much time he was losing. Something was not right there.
Yeah, when we came by after the first time of the waving yellow in 11, he was maybe 4 or 5 seconds back at Oler, and then 9 this time by. So either the car is falling off or he's making consistent mistakes somewhere others aren't.
Yeah, exactly. And then with, obviously, the Stig having his issues, Suelio Almeida in the number 10 back up into the top 5. Kelsey Billingsley just doing a nice job. First race, Billingsley finished in the 10th spot. This one 6th, so doing a superb job. Then it's the 58 of Wright finishing in that 7th spot. And looking to see where Wright started. Bill Wright, he started in the 6th spot, so he actually lost a spot. The 11 of Reed into 8th after having started in the 9th spot. Then Di Giacomo in the number 12 sits in 9th. And then the 19 of Billingsley. Is that another Billingsley?
Yep.
All right. The 19 of Billingsley. Oh, that's Kelsey Billingsley is in the 19. Okay, so it's Nick Billingsley. That's where we got it there. Then Purpura, Saldana, Sanders, and the rest of the field here. Wow, that turned into a pretty fascinating race. Look for, after that start before we got the caution, looked like maybe the Stig was going to say, see ya.
Yeah, I mean, he had probably a 1.5-second lead right in, the first, 5 corners, but then Leach was able to fire off fantastic after the double yellow and just keep it to him. Yeah, he applied nice pressure through the following laps and was able to hold on and get the win.
Yeah, truly did. It was great to see here. And I'll tell you, I'm really enjoying these little prototypes. And again, they're all spec. They're all built to the identical spec. So it's really down to the driver and the driver with the crew, getting the setup on the car dialed in. And, that's all part of the process. And we've got some drivers here that are probably looking to move up. This is a cheap way for them to go racing, again, relatively. And others are just here just for the pure fun of it. And that's a great mix.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we focus on the drivers in most forms of motorsports, but it really is a team sport. It's all about the team behind you, your engineers, your setup guys, the guy getting you to and from the track. So it's a real team effort. So definitely great job to their team there.
Yeah, and speaking of team, a group that we just saw here in this huge wind, and especially if it had started to rain, is the corner workers and the marshals out there. You can't go racing without them, and they're the eyes and ears on a road course of race control. It's not like an oval where race control can see the whole thing. You got to have them, and they do a fabulous job.